Welcome guys to Fire Emblem Free Houses, where we have an addendum kind of episode today, as discussed during the Let's Play, because I never get time to just sit here and read the library entries to be able to, well, indulge ourselves in the history of this land, Fódlan. And all of that, as we continue marching on with the story, we decided to make a little bit of a stand-alone episode, in akin to the times where we didn't make stand-alone episodes for it, but in the time where I read you stories in Ni no Kuni and other games. That's for sure. This is kind of a nice little extra episode if you, of course, want to watch the game normally play out. You've got the Let's Play for that. But if you just want to, hear what is in this library, without yourself having to read it, then this is here for you. And I think it just adds a little bit to the Let's Play as well, to understand a little bit about the past of the world that we haven't really had explained to us. So without further ado, here is your storyteller. Let's get telling a story, shall we? Let us start over here. The history of Fódlan itself, probably the most important part to start from. So let's begin the reading. Part 1. Under the tyranny of ruthless disorder, the people endured a long period of suffering. The vile nemesis who proclaimed himself the king of liberation delighted in war and bloodshed. Rather than rebelling against his persecution, the people of Fódlan fell to his debts in a mad scramble to attain power through murder and theft. 41 years before the founding of the Registry of Empire, Saint Seiros appeared in a land of Ember, and through the many unfathomable miracles she performed, spread light across the land. In doing so, she joined the shattered hearts of the purest people of Fódlan, who went on to perform the Holy Church of Seiros. Imperial Year 1, the founding of the Registry of Empire. In the first year of our calendar, the glorious Registry of Empire was founded. Its name was gifted by an oracle, and its future blessed by the goddess. Its capital, Enbar, was chosen to govern the southern reaches of Fódlan, where the divine Saint Seiros also lent her power. Imperial Year 32, the War of Heroes. Wilhelm Paul Resvelg, if I pronounce that anywhere near correctly, the inaugural Registry Emperor, raised an army in pursuit of the unification of Fódlan. With his might, he hunted and destroyed any house's territory that dared to seek more power. Imperial Year 46, the Battle of Gonda. An intense battle erupted on Gonda Field, where the houses that were allied with Nemesis and the Imperial forces of the Registry Empire clashed. There, the Imperial forces emerged victorious. Imperial Year 91, the Battle of Teltine. The houses that were allied with Nemesis once again faced off against the Imperial forces, this time at Teltine Plains. There, the evil Nemesis finally fell, and the Empire secured a momentous victory, a battle that we saw at the very start of the Let's Play, the very start of the game. Imperial Year 98, the War of Heroes ends. The successor to Great Emperor Wilhelm I, Lycon I, succumbed to sudden illness. The Empire, which ruled over the majority of Fódlan, took this opportunity to put an end to the seemingly endless fighting. Not endless, obviously, but there's still a part 2 of this history, so let's read it over here. The History of Fódlan Part 2, Imperial Year 721, the First Mach War. The Dagdan army invaded from across the sea. Though the Imperial forces resisted the attack and draw off the enemy, the land of Mach sustained considerable damage. Imperial Year 728, the Invasion of Brigid. The Empire invaded the Brigid Archipelago, a land occupied by allies of Dagda. As penance for their refusal to surrender, the people of Brigid were relegated to a life of imperial subjugation. Imperial Year 731, the Invasion of Dagda. With the boon of a strong foothold in Brigid, the Empire mounted a large-scale invasion of Dagda. However, the fortunes of war were not on their side, and their attack failed. Imperial Year 747, the Fargus Rebellion. Lug, a descendant of one of the houses that first quarreled with the Empire, raised an army to demand independence, pulling the land of Fargus into a fierce rebellion. This clash came to be known as the War of the Eagle and Lion. Imperial Year 751, the founding of the Holy Kingdom of Fargus. Lug and his resistance army were victorious over the Imperial forces. The Holy Church of Seiros mediated between the two, and Fargus secured its hard-won independence as the Holy Kingdom of Fargus. Imperial Year 801, the Leicester Rebellion. We're skipping time a bit here. A rebellion broke out in the Imperial lands of Leicester, which the Imperial army was unable to suppress. The Holy Kingdom, viewing the uprising as an opportunity to increase its own political sway, occupied the Leicester region, formally declaring it as a territory of Fargus. Imperial Year 861, Fargus divided. Following the death of King Klaus I, 3 princes became archdukes and split the Holy Kingdom of Fargus so they may rule over it as 3 separate territories. Imperial Year 881, the Crescent Moon War. The Archduke, ruling over the Leicester region of the kingdom, succumbed to illness. The lords of the Leicester lands refused to acknowledge the next Archduke in line, instead plotting to rule jointly as an alliance. Imperial year 901, the founding of the Leicester Alliance. The Leicester Alliance was officially formed after the subjugation of hostile nobles and the removal of all opposing forces in the regions of Fargus. An influential figure from the outset, Duke Regan was inarguably the heart of the newly formed alliance. The history continues with Imperial year 961, the Almiran invasion. The great eastern nation of Almira crossed through Fódlan's throat and invaded Alliance territory. The Empire dispatched troops in order to help conquer this threat, and the attackers were just barely driven off. Imperial year 1101, the construction of Fódlan's locket. To defend against future Almiran invasions, the Alliance, the Kingdom, and the Empire joined their efforts and resources to construct the indomitable fort known as Fódlan's locket. Places we've visited thus far in the game, places you may not have, depending on when you're watching this video, in a sense. So we will not speculate, we will not talk about what has taken place, but that's very interesting to learn a little bit more about how the land of Fódlan itself has been formed, and how we've got, like, well, splits, let's put it that way. Split off pieces that may fall to war. Traveller's Journal Issue 2 probably is not where we want to start next, so let's move over here for Traveller's Journal Issue 1. A record consisting largely of the world outside of Fódlan. The author's identity is unknown, but they have clearly experienced these places firsthand. Interesting. Almira. A great kingdom to the east of Fódlan. Its territory borders that of the Leicester Alliance, with a precipitous mountain range known as the Fódlan's Throat acting as a dividing line. Its people maintain a strong legacy of horsemanship and relish in the thrill of battle. This vast kingdom is rich in fertile prairies, deserts, and mountain ranges. We've got Albinia. A continent to the northwest of Fódlan, its frigid climate is home to numerous rare and valuable species of flora and fauna. However, the human population there is extremely small due to the intense cold and the frozen earth, which is unsuitable for growing grains or other food crops. Morphis is the name of a metropolis of magic to the southeast of Fódlan, as well as the boundless desert that surrounds it. In the distant past, it was called the City of Illusion. Thanks to an intricate web of trading routes, rumors of its profound and mysterious magic continue to spread. Then we got Dagda, a continent to the southwest of Fódlan. Due to its extreme distance from Fódlan, rumors of this relatively unknown world abound. Some claim it's a tropical rainforest, while others insist it's merely a giant frozen plateau. In truth, this vast continent stretches far into the north and south and supports a wide variety of terrain and climates. Let's move on to number 2 then. A record consisting largely of the world outside of Fódlan. The author's identity is unknown, but they have clearly experienced these places firsthand, so 4 more places by the look of it. Brigid, an archipelago nested between Fódlan and Dagda. It is a land of plenty that is often heralded as the perfect union of the gentle sea and nature's bounty. Both Fódlan and Dagda have long vied to claim its territory as their own. Streng was once the name of an enormous peninsula to the north of Fódlan. Today only the northern half has kept the moniker, while the southern half now falls under the dominion of the Holy Kingdom of Fargus. Several warlike clans call this great wasteland their home. Certain areas of this region are comprised of rocky desert. Apart from that, we've got Duska, a peninsula to the north of Fódlan and the west of Streng. The people who once inhabited this area were decimated and now falls under the dominion of the Holy Kingdom of Fargus. The land boasts nothing noteworthy to make it a desirable travel destination, but rumors of valuable minerals waiting to be unearthed abound. And then we've got the Ogma Mountains, an enormous mountain range somewhat south of central Fódlan. To the west it forms the border between the Empire and the Kingdom, surrounding Garreg Mach and cutting across Empire territory. It is home to many animals and plants that cannot be found elsewhere, as well as a plethora of valuable mineral deposits. So, our history and our travel, we're setting up what's around the world, not just what we've encountered. So what's our next book on the list? The Book of Saros Part 1? Part 1 is always a good place to start. The Revelation. The goddess is all things. She is heaven above and the land below. She is eternity incarnate. She is the present, the past, and the future. Her eyes see all. Her ears hear all. Her hands receive all. She who was graced with the holy word of the divine goddess, who bore witness to her magnificence, is the one called Saros. She is the messenger of the heavens, the bridge between the lands above and below, and her blessings shall bring tidings of peace to all. With the goddess's omnipotence and wisdom to guide her, Saros ensures that her will be done. As the goddess's sword, Saros wars away evil. As the goddess's child, Saros makes emperors of mortals. As the goddess's wings, Saros elevates her people. As the goddess's voice, Saros spreads the word of love. That sublime sword is entrusted to you. Those emperors are crowned before you. Those wings clear your path. That voice whispers words of trust. May the blessings of the goddess follow you always. Holy Scripture, it seems. The Book of Seros Part 2, The Creation. In the beginning, amid the great cloudless ocean, Fódlan came to be. At the end of a long journey, the goddess glimpsed that land and there alighted. Upon that sacred ground, she breathed life into the world and created all of the creatures upon it. By the goddess's hand, plants took root, birds took to the sky, and animals roamed the land. Last of all, she created humanity. When the humans wished for power, she granted it. She gifted them the blessings of the heavens and of the earth. By way of the magical arts, humanity attained great power, yet unaware that great power portends great evil. By the grace of the goddess's divine protection, humanity thrived. Through her blessings, they grew prosperous and their numbers rose. Before long, they became the most powerful creatures in all of Fódlan. All was well until darkness descended from the north, a darkness that devoured the earth, desecrated the heavens, and threw the world and its inhabitants into a state of chaos. To face this evil force, the goddess created a new well of power. She gifted certain chosen individuals with sacred blood, allowing them to wield mystical weapons, and they may prevail against the darkness. These souls, buoyed by the divine gifts, conquered the evil ones and drove them back to the north. They came to be known as heroes. The heroes experienced unnaturally long lives, persisting for hundreds of years. Even after they breathed their last, the power coursing through their blood remained, leaving an indelible mark upon this world. This power passed through bloodlines came to be known as the Cress. The mystical weapons they once wielded are now called heroes' relics, and so the legend of a new age was born. The descendants of the heroes sought their ancestors' power and lustily their blood. In time they amassed crests, relics, land and wealth, using all to set the land aflame with war. The goddess's power, intended to stem the flow of evil, became a tool of destruction, all because of the greed of humanity. The goddess, grieved and heartbroken, hid herself in the heavens from whence she came. Well, that's an interesting little bit to learn, or to read at this point. As we move forward to part 5, it seems part 3 and 4 are blocked off by people or just not available. The 5 Eternal Commandments. Dare not doubt or deny the power or existence of the goddess. Dare not speak the goddess's name in vain. Dare not disrespect your father, mother, or any who serve the goddess. Dare not abuse the power gifted to you by the goddess, and dare not kill, harm, lie, or steal unless such acts are committed by the will of the goddess. The goddess cares for and protects all that is beautiful in this world. The goddess will never deny the splendors of love, affection, joy, peace, faith, kindness, temperance, modesty, or patience. Follow her example, and in doing so, abide her laws. And so we have learnt a bit more about the religion of this land. Though not much, you would say, because there are definitely segments of that missing which could be incredibly interesting. Well, indeed. Well, we look at our next line of books here, wondering which is part 1. It seems that that one is, so we read from right to left. We look at the Registry of Empire Nobles, part 1. We're reaching the end of our library session in a sense. A register of prominent noble houses of the Registry of Empire. This document is expressly for official use by the Church of Seros. Students are forbidden to remove or peruse this documentation. 1179 edition. House Hesvelg, the most distinguished noble house of the Empire, tracing its roots all the way back to Great Emperor Wilhelm. It has been the governing house of the Empire for 1,100 years. In addition to the first emperor, its lineage is also traced back to Saint Seros herself, which is why generations of emperors are believed to bear the crest of Seros. House Resvelg resides in Enbar, the imperial capital, claiming all of the surrounding territories as domain. It boasted supreme authority both within the Empire and without until the insurrection of the Seven in 1171, in which much of its power was stripped away by the nobility. In recent years, a series of misfortunes has plagued the storied house, and some believe dark clouds hover over the future of the Resvelg reign. House Aegir, a house of dukes possessing great power within the Empire, second only to House Resvelg. Apologies for any mess-ups in pronunciations. The head of the house came to occupy the post of Prime Minister, rendering the title a hereditary one thereafter. Hereditary Prime Minister, eh? House Aegir led the insurrection of the Seven and in many ways holds the true power governing the Empire. House Vestra, a house of marquises without a domain, existing in the shadow of House Resvelg. In addition to managing the darker tasks of the Empire, it is responsible for the Emperor's periphery affairs, including coordinating things such as ceremonies and rituals, Imperial Consorts, and the Imperial Guard. House Vestra was allied with House Aegir in the insurrection. House Hevring, A House of Counts that has inherited rule over the Empire's domestic affairs, particularly those relating to administration, finance, and the judiciary. It frequently clashes with the Minister of Military Affairs over these matters. Much of its territory lies in the open mountains, and as such it enjoys the fruits of a lucrative mining industry. House Burglees. A House of Counts that has inherited rule over the Empire's Ministry of Military Affairs. It commands all of the armies that do not directly belong to the Empire, or Emperor. During times of war, the head of the house becomes the Imperial Army's commander-in-chief. Their territory encompasses most of the Empire's main breadbasket, Gronderfield. House Varley. A House of Counts that has inherited rule over the Empire's Ministry of Religion, whose main responsibility is to maintain amiable relations with the Church of Seros. However, due to the estrangement of the Church from the Empire in recent years, it is now more involved with the judiciary, causing political strife within the Ministry of the Interior. Yes, it's never good when one kind of part interferes with another in a government in that sense, stepping on the toes. So, the Registry of Empire Nobles Part 2. A register of prominent noble houses of the Addressing Empire, as we've heard, 1179 edition. House Gerth. A House of Dukes that has inherited rule over the Empire's Ministry of the Exterior. Diplomacy, foreign relations, and relations between various provinces and the capital fall under its purview. It worked hard to secure the ceasefires that ended both the Bridget and Dagda campaigns. Though complicit in the insurrection, it remains distant from associated houses. House Arundel. Formerly a minor noble house of the Empire, as head of the house, when Volkard's young sister became betrothed to Emperor Ionius IX. Volkard was granted the title of Lord Arundel. Having worked closely with House Aegir, House Arundel is seen as one of the chief instigators of the Insurrection of the Seven. House Hrim. A House of Imperial Viscounts. Resisting Emperor Ionius IX's policy of power centralization, it is set to join the alliance and secure independence from the Empire, or set out to do that, but was unable to overcome the Imperial Army's intervention. In the aftermath, the house's main genetic line was wiped out. Its current head of house is an adoptee. Whoa. House Nouvelle, a house of Imperial Viscounts with territory on the western coast of the Empire, centered around its namesake harbour city of Nouvelle. The house flourished thanks to commerce with Dagda, Albinia, Bridget, and other territories. Even still, it fell to ruin in 1175 after permitting the combined invading forces of the Dagda and Bridget armies to make landfall. Traitorous. House Ox, a house of Imperial Valens. Its territory occupies the northern half of the western peninsula known as Fódlan's Fangs. The head of the house was lost to the Dagda and Bridget War. And House Bartels, a house of Imperial Barons, highly ambitious, it sought out and acquired several crests for its bloodline. In 1176, many members, including the head of the house, died under unexplained circumstances. The deed was attributed to the heir, Emil. As his whereabouts are unknown, leadership of the house fell to a distant relative. I do wonder if some of these lines will actually appear at the story at some point. Or if they have and I just didn't notice. So the Registry of the Alliance nobles now are prominent noble houses of the Leicester Alliance. This document is especially for official use by the Church of Seros. Students are forbidden to remove or peruse this documentation, 1179 edition, but Professor can. House Regan, the leading house of the Leicester Alliance and the descendants of one of the 10 elites. In the Crescent Moon War of 881, they spearheaded the move toward independence from the kingdom, as well as the establishment of a republic by its former vassals. They have held the esteemed responsibility of leading the Alliance Round Table ever since. The position of this House of Dukes relies on the noble rank bestowed upon it by the kingdom well before the Alliance's founding. The current Duke Regan's heir, Godfrey, died in an accident while on duty. While he did leave behind a surviving daughter, she is presently unaccounted for. House Goneril. Descendants of one of the 10 elites, it is a military house that is chiefly tasked with military strikes and defense against the Almiran army, mostly due to its territory's position in the east. Lord Hulse, the next head of the house, is widely renowned as the Alliance's bravest general. House Ordelia, a house of counts with land in the east of Leicester territory. In 1167, it was involved in House Frim's rebellion, and the Empire retaliated by repeatedly meddling in the house's internal affairs, leading to a sharp decline in its noble standing. House Gloucester, descendants of one of the 10 elites, this house of counts hails from southern Leicester territory. The current head of house is ambitious, excels at public relations, and has an influential voice among the 5 noble families with voting rights at the Leicester Alliance Round Table, second only to House Regan. House Edmund, a house of Margraves, with land in the north of Leicester territory. Its beneficial trade policies, emphasizing fair use of its personal harbours, have awarded the house a great deal of clout, such a degree that it was eventually accepted into the ranks of the 5 great lords of the Alliance. Their current head of house is a renowned orator. House Daphnel. Descendants of one of the 10 elites and formerly among the 5 great lords of the Alliance. It lost much power due to internal discord. For the last several generations, no head of House Daphnel has borne a crest. In spite of this, it still maintains its status as a noble family. And so, we come to our last book. Our last read in the library, the Register of the Kingdom Nobles, continues. House Bladed. This house claims Bladed, pronouncing that is always interesting, a good old bit of Welsh, of the 10 elites as its ancestor. It has ruled the kingdom for over 400 years, ever since Luke, the King of Lions, claimed victory in the War of the Eagle and Lion in 751. This secured the kingdom's independence from the Registry Empire, after which Luke was crowned as its inaugural king by the Church of Saros. House Bladed resides in Ferdiad, the kingdom capital, claiming all of the surrounding territory as its domain and many of the fiefdoms in the north of Fódlan as his vassals. With the passing of King Lambert in 1176, his older brother, Grand Duke Rufus of Ifa, assumed the burden of ruling the kingdom in the young crown prince's stead. Even still, strife and disorder continued to plague the land. House Fraldarius. This house of dukes claims Fraldarius of the 10 elites as his ancestor. It is one of the most ancient houses on record, even amongst kingdom nobility. It is said that Kyphon, the sworn friend of Luke, the King of Lions, was also related to the hero Fraldarius. House Gaudier. This House of Margraves claims Gaudier of the 10 elites as its ancestor. Its territory lies in the northernmost reaches of the kingdom. As such, it has safeguarded kingdom territory against incursions by the people of the surrounding region for over 200 years. House Chalon. This House of Counts claims Chalon of the 10 elites as its ancestor. Tasked with negotiating between the resistant armies and the Church of Saros during the War of the Eagle and Lion, the head of House Chalon continues the tradition of a ceremonial competition within the kingdom. House Galatea. When House Daphnel, once a cornerstone of the Leicester Alliance, was divided in two over an inheritance feud, half of them defected to Fargus and established House Galatea, which was granted the noble title of Count. Much of its territory consists of a frigid wasteland where severe famine occurred in the early 1170s. House Rowe. A noble house that once held territory in the Northern Empire. When the fortress city of Ehrenrod was constructed within its domain, it revolted against the Empire and pledged the entirety of its territory, including Ehrenrod, to the Holy Kingdom of Fargus. For this contribution, it was awarded the noble title of Count. And now House Clayman. This house originally held no more than a lordship over a single castle in the west of the kingdom, but it was awarded the noble title of Viscount for its great success in the subjugation of the Dusker region in 1176. Afterwards, it was granted the Dusker region as its feudal estate. And so we've read the contents of the library. Everything is checked out, piece by piece, bit by bit. So with that said and that done, we'll continue on with the Let's Play with a little bit more information under our belt. Now that we have read everything in the library, I hope you enjoyed as we continue on, marching forward relentlessly through the story. So I'll see you next time, or I'll see you back in the normal Fire Emblem Let's Play for more action and adventure. Bye bye.